Do not sell your Bitcoin. Don't just start selling because we're trading at all-time highs. I've been trading for well over 6 years, so I can say with confidence that knowing exactly when to sell is going to determine your profitability. You see, right now, Bitcoin is trading near all-time highs, and that is exactly when the vast majority of retail investors are looking to take their profit. All-time highs is always going to be a psychological level, but in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why I think Bitcoin is going much further. So right now, just like I said on Friday, Bitcoin is in the process of completing the distribution side of the power of three. Now, this concept is also widely known as an AMD model. The first phase is where we accumulate, which again is a fancier word for a consolidation. We engineer buy-side liquidity as well as sell-side liquidity. And wherever the market sweeps liquidity first, we can anticipate the distribution move to happen in the opposite direction, which in this case is bullish. So throughout history, whenever we have a power of three or AMD model, well, in that sense, the price of Bitcoin parabolic during the distribution phase. As you might be able to see, we have not really seen that yet. I mean, yes, we did get a little bit of displacement, but I'm expecting this to go way higher. Now, of course, this technical analysis on its own is of no good, so let's look at some more data. The first thing that we'll talk about is the global M2 money supply. What you're seeing here on the screen is the price of Bitcoin, which is the candlesticks, and the global M2 money supply, which is the yellow line. Now, you might wonder, why is the global liquidity so much further ahead of Bitcoin? And that's a good question. Right now, we're looking at an 80-day offset, and that essentially means that this is what the market expects global liquidity to look like over the next 80 days. Now, the reason why this is important is because of how correlated the global liquidity is to the price of Bitcoin, or rather, how correlated Bitcoin is to the global liquidity. For those of you who don't understand global liquidity, it is quite simple. The only reason why the correlation between Bitcoin and global liquidity is simple is because crypto as a whole can be broken down into a really simple manner. The more money we have in an economy, the more money is capable of flowing into Bitcoin. So we have three major economies in the world. We have the US, EU, and China. Now, what these three all have in common is money. Okay, there's always going to be money flowing in between these three economies. Now, below these economies, we have different markets. We have the stock market, real estate market, and the crypto market. Now, of course, there's more than that the money can flow into, but these are the three that we're going to pay attention to. So the more money that is flowing in between these economies, the more money is now available to flow into these different markets. So again, the more global liquidity, the more money is going to flow into Bitcoin, stocks, and real estate. Now, Bitcoin is the last one that the money is going to flow into because, again, that's seen as a more risky asset. So because Bitcoin is riskier, it is going to take longer for that money to eventually hit Bitcoin. And what you might not notice here is that this is insanely beneficial for crypto investors because you know, especially after watching this video, that yes, this money will eventually flow into Bitcoin, but because that is the last asset which this money will flow into, there is a delay, and that delay is exactly what we're going to take advantage of. That is exactly why this 80-day offset is of any use. When the money flows into the economy, the money needs to go in between all the systems before eventually hitting Bitcoin, and it is that delay that we want to take advantage of. So this right here is, again, what we expect global liquidity to look like over the next 80 days. And because they're so correlated, well, then we can actually anticipate that Bitcoin is going to look relatively similar. And again, right now, the global liquidity is going parabolic, and the market anticipates that it's going to go even more parabolic over the next 80 days. So that alone is a great sign that no, the Bitcoin top is nowhere near. Now, if you're wondering where I'm placing my trades, I am using toobit. Toobit is a great exchange. They offer a variety of bonuses, and they have some of the industry's lowest fees. And right now, you're in luck because I can offer you 50 USDT for free by simply signing up with the link below. Now, let's get into one of my favorite exit strategies of all time, which again is going to be the pi cycle top indicator. Now, this is a rather simple SMA strategy, but when you combine the 111-day SMA with two 350-day SMAs, you get the perfect exit strategy. You see, whenever these SMAs cross, well, then there's a very high chance that the Bitcoin top is actually in. So the further these are away from each other, the longer away the Bitcoin top is. And right now, you can just see how far away these two SMAs actually are, which again indicates that the top is nowhere near. Now, again, none of this information would be useful on its own, but because we combine global liquidity with price action as well as a pi cycle top indicator, they all become useful. Don't ever look at a single data point and then base an entire decision off of that. Now, if I were to ask you, how does Bitcoin or any other asset for that matter go up? Does the value of that asset increase if there are more people who's interested in that asset? You'd probably answer yes, and you would be right. The more people that are interested in that asset, the higher the demand is, and therefore the higher the price. So a great social sentiment tracker, which again will show you how much interest people actually have in a given asset, is actually Google Trends. Okay, a very simple to use website is one of the best social sentiment trackers of all time. You see, this right here will essentially track how much people are searching Bitcoin on Google. Now again, it doesn't have to be Bitcoin. You can type whatever you want here and see exactly how much people are actually searching for that given thing. Now, as you might be able to tell, people does not really seem to have any interest in Bitcoin as of right now. And so if we refer back to the price of Bitcoin, which is trading near an all-time high, and then go back to the Google Trends, you can see that Bitcoin has almost hit an all-time high with barely any retail interest. So what do you think happens to the price of Bitcoin when the Google Trends charts look like this? Of course, Bitcoin is going to go parabolic. It's going to go so much higher because retail has not even entered the market yet. There are plenty of tools that you can use for this. I know Lunar Crush is a famous one as well. Now, me personally, I really enjoy just using Google Trends because I guarantee you, if people are interested in something, they will search for it on Google. That is the first thing that people do. And again, hitting all-time highs with barely any retail interest, we haven't really seen before, so we can only anticipate that it is going to go absolutely parabolic once retail actually picks up. The MVRVC score is one of the best tools when it comes to evaluating Bitcoin itself. So as you can see, whenever we have the MVRVC score spike here, we see a massive drop that follows, and that is exactly what we call a bubble. So the MVRVC score is a tool that I use to determine whether Bitcoin is trading within this bubble or not. We should only really worry when the MVRVC score goes above 4. When it goes above 4, well, then there's a chance that this bubble is going to explode and Bitcoin is going to sell off. That is exactly what happened here, and here. It peaks, it becomes overvalued, it trades within the bubble. Soon enough, that bubble is going to burst and it's going to drive the price of Bitcoin down. Again, right now, it's not a problem. Bitcoin is definitely not overvalued and it's not trading within a bubble, which again means if Bitcoin is not overvalued, but it's almost trading at an all-time high, what do you think happens to the price of Bitcoin when it's actually overvalued? It is just showing that there's so much more potential for Bitcoin when it's not even overvalued yet and we're already trading at all-time highs. Another very important macroeconomic data point is the interest rate. Now, a lot of people don't really pay attention to this because yes, that is boring. That is what you learn at university. You don't really want to pay attention to it, but it's really important. This right here shows you the US interest rate over the past 10 years. Now, what you might be able to notice is that as of June 2025, it is trading at near an all-time high. So the interest rate is trading near an all-time high, which again means that there's a high chance that the Fed is now going to aggressively cut interest rates. Again, they want interest rates to come down. I know Trump has recently said that he wants an interest rate target of about 1%. Now again, it's currently sitting at 4.5%, which means they're going to have to cut these interest rates by a lot. Now, if Powell, I think he's actually about to get fired, so the Fed decides to actually cut these rates aggressively, well then that is a massive bullish catalyst. What we're looking at here is the rate cuts that the Fed introduced in September of 2024. In September of 2024, the Fed decided to aggressively cut interest rates. The inflation had hit about a 2.4%. Now, the Fed wanted that to go up. They wanted inflation to go up. And how do they do that? Well, they cut interest rates. And as you might be able to tell, Bitcoin went on a parabolic run as they started to cut these rates. Now, again, if we refer back to the interest rates, well, then you can see that there's a high chance that they're about to do the exact same thing. And if that happened, well, then you can obviously see how that's going to go. So based off of all the data that we've looked at in this video, there is not a single thing that points towards the Bitcoin top being in. That is exactly why you need to be careful before you sell your Bitcoin. There needs to be a lot of overlapping factors that says, yes, the Bitcoin top is actually about to be in, and then you can go ahead and decide on whether to sell or not. But right now is not the time, in my opinion. None of the data is pointing towards a Bitcoin top, so I highly recommend that you take it chill and wait for signs that the Bitcoin top is actually in.